So, Adrian, it's been a while.
Yeah, been kind of busy once school started up again, and I accepted a job offer, so I'm gonna be moving out to the West Coast pretty soon.
Where are
So
you
it's
going?
San Diego.
Uh,
So exciting, but also time consuming and a little stressful.
yes. Big Navy.
Yes, it's a big military town. Where
So,
you
go
you
ahead.
you were you were in the U.S. Navy, right? Were you ever Have you ever been to San Diego?
Um, yes, I was in the Navy, and yes, I have been to San Diego, but no, those two have no relationship.
Yeah, okay. Just wondering. Um,
So, what's happening?
in terms of practice, I haven't been doing too much formal sitting meditation, but I think I've been doing pretty well with the gladdening the mind, trying to using the phone to have like every 20 minutes get a little buzz and say and like stop and just breathe for a few minutes for a few seconds.
Okay.
But apart from that, yeah, not much new with me really.
Okay. A lot of people are not aware that they give out as much information through gestures and facial expressions and body language than they do with actual the words they use, and so that's worth watching.
Okay.
So um, even when you were talking about joy, it wasn't until after you mentioned the word joy that there was a little smile. Before that, I saw kind of an exhausted, put out kind of expression. Can you address that?
Mm, not really. I don't know. I think I tend to be like very stressed out and very I'm not sure
Uh-huh.
what the word is, but like very tense. I think that's my default.
All right. You were looking up and to the left.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. Who are you looking at there?
There is absolutely nothing there. Just um there's a there's a window right there.
Yeah. Actually, not looking at, but looking for would be a better way of looking or speaking of it. Uh, excuse me, I'm being distracted by a lap full of dogs and kittens at the same
Oh,
time.
cool.
So, um, what I'm getting at is not, uh, there's there's two things to look at. One thing to look at is for you to become more aware of your gestures, behaviors, um, verbiage, etc., like that. That's a lot of the Dhamma. We start with the breath, and then we start watching the body. But eventually, we start watching the mind, and our speech is as good a um, let us say, portal to the mind, just like body is a portal to feelings. And so, beginning to watch language, gestures, etc., like that. is extraordinarily valuable um, for each person. And in order to do that, generally that means that now we're not on automatic pilot, even with our language, that every word is chosen. And so our speech slows down. And one way of doing that, in fact, we'll talk about it in greater detail, but one way of doing that in the beginning is to make sure that what you're saying is correct and true. So that's one side of that argument. Now, the other side, which is going to take a whole lot longer, is what I noticed in your gestures and behaviors that you didn't notice when you were using them. And that what you were indicating, and I want to ask you this to make sure that it's correct, is that you're not getting the joy out of your meditation, even though you're using the word joy. Is that correct? Ah, there's up and to the left again.
Yeah. To be
All
honest,
right.
it could feel like a chore.
Oh, aha. Ah, all right. That confirms the up and to the left again, and I'll explain that in a moment. Um, the well, no ahead. I'll go ahead and talk about the chore part. The chore part means that, gosh, how much psychology do I want to go into? Do you understand the word uh, super ego? Or
No.
Byrne talks about it as parent ego state. All right. Um, the biggest or highest authority that there can possibly be in reality is the Dhamma. But when we're confused about that, we start to have other kinds of ultimate goods or ultimate authorities, and one of them is going to be, for in Western culture, a god, and for Asian culture is going to be the law of karma. Now, um, it fills the same role in the sense that the law of karma lays down the rules and enforces them, just like the God lays. In fact, one of the things that the Christians scream loudest is, "We need a God because where are we going to get our morality from?" Right. So this is the point that I'm making. All right. So in speaking of the law of karma, you're using words like ought or should, or that you're doing the meditation in order to gain some value from it in a future date. Or that if you don't meditate, then in some future date, you're going to get punished. Is there any feeling of that at all when you're thinking about ought or should, or um, going back to why do you meditate?
I don't. I don't think there's a feeling that I'm gonna be punished in the future. It's more.
Well, you will be. It's called dukkha. It's called suffering. Every
Mm,
mistake you make, you will pay for. And so, in that regard, that's true. But looking at it like that is not the right way of looking at it. All right. One of the qualities of the Dhamma that's well known, and uh, it's in more than one location, but in one of the locations is in the Dhammapada, where it says that the teaching of the Buddha, the Dhamma, is good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end. All right, and yet almost all Westerners practice it bad in the beginning, hopefully good in the middle, and really great in the end. And so they do the hard work in the beginning. And yet, there is a path factor you probably know of called right effort. All right, right effort, noble right effort. One's right effort is to see wrong view as wrong view and enter upon and abide in right view. This is one's right effort. All right. Now, if you think about it, the very first instruction is that if the mind wanders away from the breath, never mind, start again. That's right effort right there. The never mind, start again, because you're going to start back in joy. So if you're enjoying your meditation in this moment, you're getting the benefit out of the meditation as well as skill development. But if you're sitting here hoping that joy is going to come and you're not really liking what you're doing right now, then you're just punishing yourself. And if you want something out of this, like to become enlightened, wanting something that you don't have is just more suffering. And that's the way that most Western meditators practice meditation, is they make themselves suffer even more than they would normally. But the possibility is that they'll practice wrongly only so long, and then they'll start practicing correctly. To where people who either give up or never start to begin with, they will not get the benefit. So here's the point that's really important for every new student to have, is the benefits of meditation are available right here, right now, because that's the only time there is. And so the development of the mind, or throwing the hindrances out of the mind and coming and paying attention to the body, or paying attention to what's going on right now, or paying attention to our language, paying attention to our facial gestures, paying attention to our hands, etc., like this, is really joyful. I like it a lot, as opposed to thinking about the past. Now, at the age of 71, and with a good memory, solid, strong memory, believe me, I can think of a whole lot of things in my past to feel bad about. Almost everything. I can screw up in my mind right now every past event, no matter that past event was screwed up at that time or not. I can screw it up right now by not liking it. And how do I not like it? By wanting it even better than it was. Not remembering it exactly what it was, but adding feelings, sensations, bad feelings, all of that. And so the Buddha recommends something quite remarkable that a lot of people don't get, and that is just don't think about what's in the past. And if we can remember to just say, no, what I'm going to think about is what's happening right now, which means an example of that would be if you lay down at night with the idea, I've got to write an email tomorrow, then we'll think and boil and stew and ruminate over that email while we're trying to go to sleep. And we still don't have an email written. And not only that, but then now we want to remember what we thought about last night. And so it's all a matter of suffering. The best thing to do is write an email when you're writing the email, not beforehand. All right, staying out of the past and future allows you to enjoy this present moment. And that's one of the most important benefits that you'll ever get out of meditation, is enjoying doing it, as well as the skill development. Now, is this old news, or is this brand new?
No, I've heard this before.
You've heard this before. Okay. So now let's look at that point in time when it's time to change the attitude. One's right effort is to change that attitude. Or is it that you don't remember at that point in time to change attitude?
Yeah, I definitely don't remember. I I
All
have a
right.
tendency to ruminate in the past. So yeah, I think my favorite pastime is pretty much beating myself up. That's pretty much what I spend most of my free time doing.
It's amazing how much can be caught by watching eye movements go up and to the left. Yes. And the beating yourself up, because in fact, it's not you who's beating yourself up. That doesn't make any sense anyway. Who is it that's doing that? Some individual from your past. Whoever laid down some arbitrary rule, and it might have been a Dhamma teacher or a parent or some sort of teacher. That this is the whole thing is that we've got to get out of the past, which means get out of the influences of the past so we can really be here now. Because you know how to practice correctly, but here you are doing it an old way when there's a new way ready for you.
Yeah,
Pardon?
I was gonna say, yeah, it's ridiculous.
Ah, okay. Well, this is actually part of the effort is the motivation. We have to be motivated to do this. In fact, every child in school has to learn something, but unfortunately, one of the motivations is the stick. That the students are motivated to learn and to learn under threat of low grades or admonitions or whatnot like that. But one of the things that I've come to understand about math is that math cannot be taught out of fear. It can't be done. It has to be taught out of curiosity. It has to be taught out of interest. And when the student is curious and interested, in fact, by becoming interested in mathematics, the students also become interested in the world because mathematics is nothing but humanity from ancient times' ability to describe the world, the universe, the physical world, not the social network of human beings. Got its own issues that we'll discuss. But once the child becomes curious and interested in what's going on, then they'll learn math because they like it. And now they're patted on the head for what they can do. So now they're operating out of carrot and not out of stick anymore. And so that's what's happening with students also of meditation, that you're doing meditation out of stick rather than or wanting some future benefit from it, rather than the carrot that you can chop on right now. The enjoyment of doing it, the enjoyment of the skill development, the enjoyment not only of, aha, I caught the mind wandering away, but is, aha, I just caught myself about to lie. Aha, I was just about to feel bad. I was just about to start an argument, but I caught it. All right. And so we actually, the practice of Dhamma is going from one aha to another, one after another. Aha, I see you. Aha, I've got you now. Aha, I know. And so in that regard, we start to build the powers, the idiopata. And the basis of power are these, in fact, same things of to remember. And then the effort runs right effort. And then to stay focused on doing this. and then do the investigation. Because the investigation is what leads to, I caught you. I see that. All right, so you begin to have power. You begin to build a skill that we start with just by doing it with the breath. What we take this Dhamma into every breath we take all the time, because the Dhamma is always there. The question is, are we going to be there for it? Now, naturally, the human mind, or the Western mind especially, says, oh, that means I'm supposed to watch the breath all the time. Therefore, when I catch myself not watching the breath, that's the time to beat myself up and to feel bad. I'm not doing what I was told to do. And this is, again, just doing it the wrong way. Only now we set a bar very high, guaranteeing that we can't make it. And now we're really going to feel bad because we can't make a high bar. The right way to do it is to make a really, really low bar and then dance around like a champion at the goal line when you reach that low bar. And then go back and forth. And every time you go back and forth on that low bar, you congratulate yourself. I am the champion. I am the champion. Because while you're doing that, the bar is going to get raised automatically. You'll raise your own bar. But you always stay with, I am the champion of this situation. Moment by moment. Isn't this moment a beautiful moment? Why? Because I'm not stuck in my own suffering. I'm not stuck in my past. I'm not stuck in the future. I'm stuck in the here now. That's the beginning instruction, that's the middle instruction, and that's the instruction. That's why Buddhism is good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end, when we practice it correctly. So what do you think?
Yeah, it's nothing new.
Nothing new.
But I guess
Well,
getting a
okay.
reminder every once in a while doesn't hurt.
Actually, that's the only way to learn. An example of that, a very famous world-class classical pianist has been known for years. And he walks out on stage and he sits down and he whips out something like Chopin's Revolutionary Etude. And he's playing it and he's with it and he's there in the moment. You think he was able to do that without practice? When he started practice, did he start with Chopin's Revolutionary Etude? Or did he start with something like chopsticks?
Or something easier.
Okay, so being happy with the breath is like learning how to play chopsticks. Learning how to watch the body is like learning how to play scales. Scales and chords and scales and chords and scales and chords. This is a good in breath. This is a good out breath. Oh, the mind wanders away. Never mind. Come back again. Okay. And so that's how we begin to practice. And we begin to enjoy it because we're seeing success. If I try to practice Revolutionary Etude with no piano practice at all, in fact, all I've done is heard it on the radio and then gone down and bought the sheet music, the likelihood of me being able to play that thing, even with 20 years of pissing around with it, is unlikely. And that's how people in the West practice, rather than building the very, very basic skills we need. And the very basic skill you need is a smile. Not one on one side, the whole face. That's the smile. And in fact, that's one of the old Buddhist jokes. But it's a Western Buddhist joke, you know. When little kids start to use tools, they will often stick their tongue out because the wiring between the mouth and the hands still exists, especially for young children. And in fact, that relationship exists when people talk with their hands. All right. So, the joke then is that the kid can't do this particular task, like repairing his bicycle or a certain part of it, and the answer is he can't do it because he's not holding his mouth right. Okay, he's got his tongue out, he's maybe biting his tongue, whatever like that. In fact, that's very characteristic. They use that far more in the movies than you see it in actuality, but you know what I mean when you're really working on something. So, how do you fail at meditation? By not holding the mouth right. How do you suppose to hold your mouth? You have to smile. That's what the Buddha does. You see any statue, you never see an unhappy Buddha. They're always smiling. So how can you do that? How can you remember even to smile? Because if you can remember to smile, that's already taking you in the right direction. Just noticing that little part of the body. So this is how we get started. Very simple things like that. So whenever you are sitting down in meditation, make sure that you go there with the intention, I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to really, really like this. And if the mind wanders away, I'm going to enjoy catching it and bringing it back to this present moment. The Anapanasati step 10 of gladdening the mind is often missed. It's missed by the students, it's missed by the teachers, and then what that means is that students don't make that major change of noble right intention. They just keep the same mental intention that they had when the mind had wandered away, and the only thing that came up was sati. Oh, I know it's not wanting. But when we say, oh, I know the mind has wandered away, we say that with the same breath, the same intention, and the same motivation that we had when we were in the hindrances that we just noticed. Right. And so we need to make that change. Ta-da! Aha! I caught you. And we need to do that over and over and over again because we want to make it into a new pattern. We want to see the connection. We want to see the frequency. We want to see the over and over and over quality because the human being is built on patterns and pattern recognitions. So you need to start developing, and this is a pattern. A clear example of that is in Hitler's Mein Kampf, where he says if you tell a lie over and over and over again, people start to believe it. They reject it the first time it's told, but they're told to lie over and over again, and they have no wisdom. Then that automatic part of the mind that just sees frequency over and over and over again, it becomes familiar, and the word familiar is the same word as family. So that lie becomes part of our family because it's become familiar. So we're going to use that same thing with our practice. You're going to make joy, not a big joy, not a marvelous joy, not a jumping up and down joy maybe, but enough to bring a smile at least. And if we can't bring the joy with the smile, then let the smile bring the joy, at least to remember to do the smile. Because if you can remember to do the smile, perhaps you can remember to be joyful also. Just a little bit of joy. And we want it to be like a drop in a bucket over and over and over and over and over again. And your only choice is to either do this and be happy a little bit right now, or not do it and be back, oh, poor me, victimized by my own thoughts. Your choice. Because the really big enlightenment is not here now. You have to do the good. Good in the beginning, good in the middle, and it'll be good in the end. But if we're thinking, oh, it's going to be bad now and better later, then Buddhism is exactly the same thing as that everything else is. It's a bait and switch. It's a scam. It's a sham. It's a lie. It's a government. It's a religion. You do this, you pay this entrance fee, and you can get in the door. And then the door is slammed in your face. Whether that's the door to heaven, or the door to being super wealthy, or the door to happiness, whatever the door is, if we have to suffer or pay for it, then it's a bait and switch. If it's good in the beginning and good in the middle, then it'll be good in the end. So, in that regard, if it is just a little bit crappy or just a bit ordinary in the beginning, then why do we think that by doing this somewhat painful exercise is going to get us something marvelous? All right. Here's a clear example of that. Weightlifting. Those guys who get really, really good at weightlifting, they have to break down and then rebuild muscle over and over and over again. If they don't like doing that, they can feel those sensations. They do a really big workout, and then they have hot burning sensations in their arms and big muscles, and they like it. They like it. Why? Well, if they don't like it, if they hate it, then they are not making really any good progress at all. And they'll probably quit before they ever get any benefit out of weightlifting. But if they can start to like it, the sooner they begin to like it, the more likely they are going to continue to do that. That's true about piano. That's true about tuba. That's true about pipe organ. It's true about football and basketball. I cannot name anything, but mathematics and the Dhamma are two things that absolutely have to have it with all carrot all the time. Does not work with stick. So, would you please give me your stick so that you stop beating yourself up?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I really like the stick.
You, is it true that you like it, or is it true that you're beginning to recognize it for the first time? And then, in fact, you don't like it so much that what you like is the idea of getting rid of it.
Maybe.
Yeah. This is something that's known in many, many traditions, and that is self-acceptance, self-knowledge. With the Dhamma, we go even deeper than that. But this is an important thing. You have to accept yourself. And here you are, just like all the, or not all, but most meditation students get caught, stuck in this place that you are in of not enjoying the meditation because you're practicing it the way that you've been doing everything else, is doing it with a goal in mind. new way to practice. Watch. You can even sing a little song with it if you like. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I have a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. Have you heard that one?
No, never.
I know why. It's because it's out of an old movie from Walt Disney that was banned as racist and taken off.
Okay.
Then the name of it, I think, is Songs from the South, and it's about Uncle Remus.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay, and it's
never.
written
No.
in Southern dialect that was before it was antebellum,
Okay.
before the Civil War. Okay, so racist, racist, racist. But I was raised on it because I was raised before it was banned. Anyway, listen to that song or other songs like that. You need to have, because, and here's the thing, those happy kinds of songs have their own kind of rhythm, their own kind of frequency, and that by singing happy songs, we begin to lighten, and by singing sad songs, we begin to darken. And so you can see that modern times that has rap, heavy metal, um, uh, the kind of music that's modern, that's overly sexualized and overly uh, victim oriented, is not good for the people. That the time that was right after World War II, when World War II was ended, there was a time of music that was much happier. And that lasted to the 1950s, but then the problems of politics, etc., set back in. And since then, it's all been going downhill. I don't want to give you a full history of music, but look at the music of the 50s, and you'll see that a lot of it is really happy stuff. Or even into the 1960s with James Brown. You know, in fact, I named the James Brown meditation. Have I told you about James Brown meditation?
No, you have not.
You haven't. Oh, all right. Well, him and do the James Brown meditation for you.
Okay.
I feel good. Da, 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 da. Like I knew I would now. Da, 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 da. I feel good. All right. And then there's Jeremiah of the Bullfrog. Don't know that one. Joy to the world.
That's
All the boys and girls now. Joy to the fishes in the deep blue sea. Joy to you and me. Okay. This is how we need to start having new kinds of frequencies, new kinds of patterns, patterns of joy, patterns of aha, I'm the king of the hill. Because normally we play victim, especially if, like you said, that you beat yourself up. There's a victim in there someplace, the one who's getting beaten up. That's the guy that we need to make curious instead of downtrodden. He's the guy that's got to figure out that, hey, if I stop beating myself up, things can get pretty good. At least for right now. At least for right now.
yeah.
Now, in one way or another, every meditator goes through this funk stage. They think that they've got good mindfulness, and yet they haven't made that major switch from ordinary effort the kind of effort that you were taught, the kind of effort that requires struggle. It requires trying, it requires failure, it requires punishments, and the success is short lived because there's more to do. And so we wind up living kind of one failure to another, even if we're climbing a ladder. Becoming more and more successful, we're still driven by, I don't have enough. Wealthy people that have a lot of money are, in fact, not happy. And if they inherited their wealth, then they're really not happy because now they have to compete with daddy. And so they want more and more and more. That's the problem of the greed. This is that people think that if I get something, I'll be happy. Huh? And then they get it. Are they happy? Maybe for a little while. But that old pattern, that old bad habit of wanting and wanting and wanting, and the delusion that I can become happy by getting what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
All right. So the new way of doing it is, hey, I can be happy right now. And you know you can be happy right now. I mean, I can give you many examples. One of the examples I use is Ed McMahon. Do you know Ed McMahon?
Name
In
sounds
this,
familiar.
he was the let us say the sidekick of Johnny Carson for many many years on the Tonight Show,
Never
and
mind.
he was the one who would say, "Here's Johnny." And you probably weren't old enough because after Johnny Carson retired, Ed McMahon went to work for Publishing Clearinghouse, and his job there was to convince old people to buy magazines, and they added the sweepstakes to it.
Okay.
So that they would say, okay, we're going to bang on somebody's door with two girls carrying a huge check for $10 million. Okay. And
Okay.
every time I tell that story, every student laughs, smiles just like you did. All right. Why is that? Why do we smile? The more important point is that you had a thought that gave you the smile. That proves to you right there, and it proves to me that you were capable with your mind of bringing up joy all by itself. In fact, if you actually got that check for $10 million, whoa, would you have trouble? The first thing you're going to have is the tax guys come by to see you. They're
Yeah.
going to take a whole bunch of it away from you, and you're going to feel really bad about that. And then the investment companies, the brokerages houses, they're going to come and they're going to tell you how to invest it. Only it's going to go up. No, it goes down. Meanwhile, you've got neighbors, friends, companions, and relatives you never met before are asking you for money. Don't win the sweepstakes. Take a deep breath instead, and think about winning $10 million.
Sure.
Do you get where I'm coming from with this?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You can find ways to make yourself happy in this moment, and it's always in this moment. But dwelling in the past and dwelling in the future keeps us in the old ho hum way of thinking that we've always been in. So this is the way to practice. So when you practice, when that alarm goes off that we've talked about, your job is to say, "Hey, hot dog, now is happy moment. Now is Happyville. Now I can take a deep breath. Thank you, little computer or cell phone for doing that ding dong. Because when you go ding dong, I do too." And this is the way to practice: is every few minutes you say, I'm going to give the brain a shot of dopamine. Give the brain a shot of dopamine. Better stuff than, say, cortisol. That's a stress hormone.
Right.
Mm. This is how you practice. So the next time you call, I expect you to, when I ask you, well, how's your practice? How are you going to respond? Hot diggity dog, you wouldn't believe how good it's been. That's
All
the
right.
first thing I expect to hear from you is hot diggity dog. I like it now.
All right.
Okay. I hope that this gives you inspiration. It gives you the shot in the arm, the worth, the effort. It does take effort. There is right effort, and that right effort, in fact, how to say it. I remember one time when I was actually on this island about 30 years ago, and I had a 750 Honda big bike.
Okay.
And the road that I was on was so washed out that the bike got stuck in a rut. And it was too heavy and too big to get it out of that rut. And at that time, I was forced to keep that bike in the rut, and I rode it down the rut until I could get to a place to where I could get out. But I had to run that, and I mean, my thoughts were at that time, even in Dhamma, was, that's what happens in the mind. You get stuck in a rut, and one's right effort is to haul that big, heavy motorcycle out of that rut. And so one's right effort sometimes is actual effort. It looks like that it's actually quite easy to do. And it is, in fact, the more times you do it. But please know that there will be times when it takes a lot of effort to come out of the hindrances and come back to this present moment. But that when you do, it's joyful. You'll enjoy it. In fact, the Buddha talks about just the freedom from the hindrances. Oh, what a relief. No more past. At least right now. I'm afraid of you. Go away, go away, go away.
Right.
All right. So I'm waiting on you to say yippee ki yo ki hot diggity dog.
All right.
All right. Any last words or last request?
No.
All right. Do you feel like that you can go and give this stuff a go, a fresh shot at it?
I always do, but I always end up forgetting.
You forget. Okay. Well, never mind. Start again.
Right.
Start again. This time, start with the mental thought, I will not forget this time. Not during this setting period. But
Okay.
this setting period, I'm going to remember to enjoy it.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Dhammarato. Take
I'm
care.
ready. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.